Thank you for joining us on this session on Document Productions 4. This session we're going to look at at widows and orphans, and also at page, section and column breaks. Now what we've got here is we've got a document that's left over from our last session, and we've removed some images. So we're just going to look at texts and tables and have a look at the sections. At the moment we have a document with a orientation as landscape. Just checking that. Yep. So the orientation is landscape. What we're going to do with this document is we're required to add a second title, and we're required to have 2 pages. The first page to be a portrait and the second page to be a orientation landscape. Now, having different layouts, we're also going to have, we're requested on the second page to have different layouts in the text. The text, we need 2 columns, the table not to be 2 columns, and then the text below to be 2 columns. So we need 3 different layouts on the same page. So first of all, let's add the title that we're required to add, and the title that we're required to add is that says we're required to say Winter Wonderland or Woe. So let's add in front of this heading, we'll just click on there, enter, and we'll put 1 line between it and type Winter Wonderland or Woe. Now there is our title. We now have 2 titles on this document. What we have to do now is we're going to consider if we type a document and we end up with 1 line extra on the bottom of a page and it jumps across to the next page. Let's say this line here ends up on the next page. Well, that line would be considered to be a widow of this page. And so a widow is when 1 line appears on the next page. We would rather it be together. Also, sometimes we have a line, the first line of a page might appear, and then the next page might carry on the story. And that first line, let's say this first line appears at the bottom of a page, and then the rest, let's say that top line appears on the bottom of a page, and the rest of the text appears on the next line. Well, that line would be considered to be an orphan of the next page. So we've got widows and orphans. Now we can adjust those manually by forcing page breaks. So if we don't want the first line to be the last line of a page, we click that in front of that and we force a page break, which is page break here, or the next page. And we could just force a page break, which carries it on to be to push that line onto the next page. What we're going to do is set up the document so that we don't have orphans and widows. So we go into paragraph and we find line and page break here. And the first, see if it may open on indents and spacing, but we go to line and page breaks and we find this option, widows orphan control. So we make sure that that is checked. That will ensure automatically that no widow or orphan will appear, and it will adjust that automatically. So that is widow and orphan. Now we're going to consider the different breaks. The breaks that we have to know are the page break, section break, and the column breaks. So what we're going to do is force a page break after these 2 titles. So I'll click at the end of the second title, and we go up to break, and we can just hit page break here. A page break will carry on with the layout. What we're going to do is force a different layout on the next page. So what we're going to do is next page, and that will start the new section on the next page, because the next page I actually want to make it different layouts. So I'll cause a section break, and that section break will allow us to change the layouts between here and here. So we can adjust the layout on this first page and it will not affect the layout of the second page. So let's just hit enter one more time here. Oh no, we don't need that. So we've got the section break is at the end of will be on that. Let me undo that. I'd like to force the section break here. I'll see if it makes a difference at the beginning of that next line. So break, section break, next page. No difference. Okay, so we've got the first page, second page. Now, the first page, if we click in anywhere in the text on the first page and have a look at the orientation, and it is landscape, what I'm going to do is select portrait. Now the first page has a portrait orientation. And if we click on the second page, anywhere in the second page, notice the orientation is landscape. So the layouts are in fact different between page 1 and page 2. So that is section break, next page. We're going to look now at section break, which is called continuous breaks. Now I would like to have 2 columns here, 2 columns here, but no, not 2 columns here. So before and after the table, we'll click before the table. We'll add a break, a section break, and we'll add a continuous. This is a continuous break which allows the layout to change on the same page. So a continuous break, this is still the same page. It just allows us to have different layouts in different sections. And after the table, click here, after the table, we'll put in another section break, continuous, and that will allow us to have a different layout below the table and above the table. Finally, we're going to add 2 columns in the text body. So click anywhere in that section and we will go up to columns. Now notice we could automatically just press 2, but we're not going to because we want to do a few more things. Now in the columns, what we are asked to do, and this will be made clear in your test or in your examination, it will say, okay, the break between columns, we're going to be asking for a 2 centimeter between the 2 columns and a vertical line to be presented between the 2 columns. So let's go down to more columns, and we can still select 2, but what we're going to do here is just in the number of columns, we'll just put a type of 2. For the width, I'm going to go over that width and type 2 centimeters. And up here, a line between, we check that box, and that will place a line between the 2 columns, and we'll apply that, but we apply that to this section, not the whole document. Okay. Let's back up. Let's see what we've done wrong here. Where did we go wrong? Let's have a look at the columns. More columns. 2 columns. Oh, that's the width. We want spacing 2 centimeters. My bad. Okay. 2 centimeter spacing, not 2 centimeter width. And line between. Okay, much better. You can actually see in the image, before we had a very big space here. If we go back, if I had to put 2 centimeter here, it would have shown that was what happened. So we didn't want the width. We will go back. Columns, more columns, 2 columns, spacing 2 centimeters. Line between, we'll click that. All right, now we're good. This section only, yes, apply to this section, and voila. All right, much better. Now we'll go down to the body of this text down here. We'll do the same thing to this section down here. So we go columns, more columns, 2 columns, The spacing, we'll hit spacing 2 centimeters and line between. Okay. And all right, it's possibly because there's not enough for the second column. So there we have our body of text. There's not enough data to carry on the second column. And we have our document. If we now have a portrait where the titles are. Notice the page is portrait and the next second page is landscape. All right, well, thank you very much for joining us with this section. The next session, we'll be looking at font styles and sizes and a little bit more of document production in Document Production 5.